My mother's gonna die. Okay.
I'm not kidding.
Wow, that's wonderful.
More than just a piece of furniture, this piece is a stunning representation of the Gothic revival movement.
One of the primary things that we do when to find out where a table was made is we look for secondary woods.
Octagonal in shape, it reflects the architectural elements of the 12th century Gothic style, which experienced a resurgence in the 19th century. This piece was crafted from rosewood with burl insets and features intricate Gothic elements on its legs. The tabletop is a masterpiece of marquetry, with a thistle motif that suggests a Scottish origin or English design for the Scottish market. Additionally, the table's color was achieved through dyed wood, with the marquetry technique used to create intricate designs. The craftsmanship and rarity of this piece make it highly sought after, especially among sophisticated individuals or clergy who appreciate its Christian-inspired symbolism. This exceptional table, with its historical significance and exquisite craftsmanship, adds to its intrigue and would be worth
$15,000 to $25,000.
Oh, you're kidding. My mother's gonna die. Okay.
I'm not kidding.
Wow, that's wonderful.
This old incandescent lamp had been in the guest's family for 80 years, bought at her grandmother's auction. However, this lamp was damaged in the Loma Prieta earthquake about 20 years ago. It is missing some pieces of glass and has some cracks. The lamp was made by a company called Duffner & Kimberly in New York, known for their extraordinary quality glasswork in the early 20th century, and the company's insignia is very visible on the lamp's handle. The base is made of gilt bronze.
Space that to me is just drop-dead gorgeous.
Yeah.
Although this lamp has had some damage in the past, there are people willing to restore it, which would significantly increase its market value at auction. Even though this lamp has been damaged and missing some pieces, it still retains a visible company insignia and gilt bronze, which places its value at around
$12,000 to $16,000 if it were in good shape.
I'm happy to know something about it.
Really? Wow. That's great.
The guest purchased this diary 15 years ago at an estate auction for just $5. It belonged to Warren, an abolitionist from Boston.
Yes.
The address is 28 Cornhill, and he was an abolitionist.
Warren traveled south after the war to document the conditions of slaves. He recounted a slave's journey who was sold twice, once for over $1,200. He also mentioned that education and religion were permitted, which caused discontent among the local community. He also depicted Brian's slave pen in Savannah, creating a chilling illustration. Diaries like this hold value for their historical content. Conservative auction value of the diary is
$3,000 to $5,000.
Oh, really? Wow. That's great.
Sometimes we stumble on masterpieces that don't look like masterpieces at first. At least that was the case of our guest today, who bought this Mexican magiscope, created in 1978 by Feliciano Bejar, a Mexican artist. He started experimenting with this particular style in the 1960s. On the base of the glass, we can see his name and date. We can see that the magiscope is finished and polished, which shows it was created by an expert craftsman.
He actually traveled to New York for his first exhibition in 1948, and it's really not until the 1960s that he stumbled upon this style of art, which is really sculpture.
The purpose of the magiscope is to distort reality and paint it to look a different way. It takes a massive creative mind to create such a masterpiece, and that's why for a unique sculpture as this, it is estimated to be worth around
The retail setting right now for $3,000. So it's a pretty great purchase.
Yes.
Deco brooch has a rich family history, originally belonging to the guest's grandmother and later passed down to the guest by their mother. The guest's grandmother cherished the pin, but it was lost at a dance during her college years. Thankfully, it was found, preserving its significance in the family. Brooch features pierced platinum and diamonds.
It's an old European cut diamond, and it weighs just over 1 carat. It's a nice, white, lively stone, and it really grounds the design.
The intricate handcrafted design is a testament to the Art Deco era's style and craftsmanship. Although the brooch is not signed, it comes in its original box from Myron Freeman and Brothers.
Myron Freeman and Brothers, who was a jeweler out of Atlanta at the time, which would have been around about 1930.
The overall diamond weight of the brooch is approximately 4.5 carats. At auction today, the brooch is conservatively estimated to be worth between
$6,500 to $8,500.
Wow. That's nice to know, although, as I said, I have no intent of selling it because I love the family history with it.
The weapon of defense certainly looks stunning. It was acquired at a museum by this guest when he traded one of his personal paintings for the shield. This shield originated from Mindanao in the Philippines, where the headhunting tribe settled. Particularly, this shield is from a group called the Bagabo. Observing closely, there are little holes along the shield's edges, signifying it had human hair fringe that ran around the edges on both sides. This very rare shield is probably from the late 1800s to early 1900s. A rare shield like this would definitely appeal to an audience that enjoys collecting old armaments, and this places its value at auction to be
$2,000 to $3,000.
Thank you.
And it's a great piece.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it.
The husband of the guest purchased this cup in Philippine, West Virginia, after a major flood. He checked with the local museum, but they weren't sure if it belonged to them. It seems like it has endured some rough times, evident from the dings and dents caused by the flood. This cup was crafted in Moscow, Russia, in 1860.
We've got this building, and then finally you've got this heart shape enclosing the date 22nd of November 1861.
It's a sizable beaker displaying the characteristic craftsmanship of Moscow. It may have been crafted for a special occasion or commemorative purpose. Unlike typical Moscow cups, this one's unique design, size, and quality set it apart from others. Despite some damage, it still retains significant value.
$800 to $1,200.
Okay. All right, well, thank you.
Estate sale for $20, this lamp reflects the guest's appreciation for mid-century modern design. Designed by Llewellyn, a prominent figure in Italian design, the lamp is known as a Pipistrello Bianca and is a masterpiece of mid-century modern Italian design.
That has the original retail price for the piece at $129.99.
Wow.
So you're ahead of the game already.
Despite some damage to the methacrylate shade caused by heat from the light bulb, the lamp retains its iconic design. The appraiser suggests that, offered at a public auction, this lamp could fetch between $300 to $500 as a parts lamp. However, if the original shade can be found or replaced, the lamp could retail for as much as
$1,500 to $2,500.
Wow, very cool.
Initially not cataloged as a shoot, intrigued the guest due to its resemblance to other known shoot portraits. The guest's research and close examination of the artwork's details, however, some discrepancies were noted, such as the handling of hands, which differed from the delicate approach typical to shoot's work. Despite these differences, the pastel drawing technique and the attention to detail, such as lacework, are consistent with the shoot style. At an auction, the guest bid up to $30,000, significantly higher than the estimated value of $4,000 to $6,000. The appraiser acknowledged the potential value if the portrait could be definitively attributed to shoot, suggesting a retail value of
$25,000 retail. You can prove we find a signed one with a similar layout, and we can really nail it as a shoot. Then you're talking $125,000. Wow.
In 1905 and written by Edward Burne-Jones, an expert artist who lived from early 1830s to the late 1800s. This book, called the Flower Book, is unique in the sense that it has no pictures of flowers.
It's the flower book, but there's no pictures of flowers.
I know.
In fact, the book houses many different paintings whose names were inspired by flower names. Inside the book, we have a painting named Jacob's Ladder. We also have another named The Key to Spring, which depicts the springtime. When we look at a beautiful artistic book such as this, it is hard to put a value on it. Nevertheless, it auctions at
If you had to replace this, that raises the price from $15,000 to maybe $25,000 or more.
We had no idea about that, yeah.
That's unbelievable.
a mantel clock made in Paris that was purchased from a family friend. This clock was sold to people who often case their clocks or styles. Most likely an unusual clock that featured a brass case that had a champalive decoration.
Now, champalive is a process of enamel where they put enamel that's divided by brass.
Also, it has an up dial with a wonderful floral decoration on the inside of the time ring. This piece is unique and differs from the standard ones that were just plain white. However, its wonderful feet come in a form of an animal paw, which indicates the well-detailed artistry that went into its casting. In addition to that, the piece has fully turned columns that are decorated and inset into the case. Considering the extra time spent in casting this piece and the Champs-Élysées decoration, it is worth an estimated value of
$2,500 to $3,000 for it.
It's great.
That's a pretty good buy.
It's beautiful.
Pottery is highly sought after. On the show today, we have a guest who presented this ancient Chinese piece of pottery. It was acquired by the guest's parents in the 1960s at an antique shop in Chicago. This piece originated from South China.
It was made in South China, probably in Canton province.
It symbolizes a Qing dynasty official. On both the front and back side of this pottery, there are plaques that serve as rank badges. Additionally, it features a court necklace around its neck and possibly an otter's fur cap on its head, denoting its official status. Upon closer inspection, we can observe a depiction of a dragon robe, symbolizing honor. Pieces like this one typically originate from the early 1800s. Although this piece has sustained some damage, it can be easily repaired. The minor damage does not diminish its value that much, and when you look at its rarity and the fact that it is not easy to come by, this piece would sell for around
$40,000.
Okay, cool.
And wouldn't be surprised at all if it sold for more.
That would be neat.
His wife's family to the guest and his children, this oil painting by Aston Knight is a perfect blend of sheer artwork and creativity. Mr. Knight was fond of drawing beautiful scenes that he had experienced, and he did it in such an almost perfect way. This painting, being no different, is what you would find in a late 19th century to early 20th century collection.
Late 19th century, early 20th century collection. This is by an artist by the name of Aston Knight. He was born in 1873 to a painter by the name of Daniel Ridgway Knight.
Likely drawn in 1910, as someone whose interest was in painting mills and cottages, he painted this one to depict a cottage at night. Only a few men at the time could boast of an artwork that was so detailed, and it was no wonder this painting fetched a high value at
$45,000 to $50,000 these days.
All right, okay.
Chinese porcelain vase, inherited by the guest from his grandmother. A pastiche of the best of Chinese porcelain production in the Qing dynasty. What's interesting about this vase is the exquisite enamel painting, the marvelous landscape scene, gilded work, and molded decoration of dragons and leafy tendrils. Despite its Qing dynasty aesthetic, this vase is a product of the Republican period. Also, it is a testament to the continuation of traditional craftsmanship during a period of change in Chinese history. However, this piece is not just a beautiful decorative vase, it is also a tangible link to the past, preserving the artistry and craftsmanship of a bygone era, making it a highly valued piece that would sell for
$6,000 and $8,000.
Oh, wow. Damn.
And you know what?
What?
If all the gilding were intact,
Yeah.
it'd be worth at least $10,000 to $15,000 at auction.
Jeez.
most famous monuments in the world. The Statue of Liberty is an eye-catcher to many individuals both in the United States and all over the world. Created by Frederick Auguste Bartholdi, a sculptor and painter for the ages. Here we can see a 3-foot and 2-foot version of the Statue of Liberty, which were made by Frederick as a miniature depiction of the large statue. What's fascinating about these replica is that they are brownish in color, and that's because they were made from a metal called white metal. Despite not being the original statue itself, these mini-statues represent the unification of two powerful countries, and it's why these statues are valued at
one of this same size for $37,500.
That's a significant drop. I would imagine there was a boom during the centennial.
Exactly, a lot of collectors vying for these things. The 1-foot version, the last one, brought $3,000. So this 2-foot version would bring somewhere between $3,000 and $37,500.
Being gifted to the guest during Christmas.
Robert George Harris.
I know the artist personally. He was my father's best friend. They were lifelong buddies.
The painting holds a personal connection to the guest as it was painted by Robert G. Harris, who was her father's best friend and lifelong buddy. Robert was best known for his romantic portrayals of stories and illustrations. He had inscribed the painting to the guest's father. Quite noticeably, this piece is a typical illustration art used for pulp fiction or magazine covers. It showcased drama and the action characteristic of a thrilling piece. In addition, the fact that the piece was used for the cover of the Wild West Weekly in 1936 adds to its intrigue, and it is valued at
$15,000.
There's a popular saying that goes, "Beauty is to the beholder." But these folk art carved figures of prominent characters in World War II is a sight to behold for everyone.
And he would create these figures based on the configuration that he cut out of the tree.
Carved by the guest's grandfather at the time of World War II, these figurines were made to represent prominent folks like Adolf Hitler and others who were involved majorly in the war. These figures are a work of art because despite being carved from wood, they show so much resemblance to the person they were created to depict. What's surprising here is the guest's grandfather was not trained as an artist, but was blessed with the talent. For figures that have stood through the test of time and termites and remain quality pieces, these figures would easily be worth about
$10,000 to $15,000 at auction. And that's just overwhelming. That's just terrific. Great.
That represents vintage toy craftsmanship. Dating back to around 1900, this piece is an ocean liner Britannia, a true gem manufactured by Gudbrand Bing, a renowned German toy company known for its high-quality products. Seen as a miniature marvel, it's complete with its intricate details such as potholes, lifeboats, and even tiny deck chairs. And it works in a clockwork model so you can wind it up, pull the key out, and put it in the water. Also, there's an original stand at the bottom with wheels, so the child could play with it on the floor.
Wow. This was a very high-end of the period piece. It's in outstanding condition, but I believe that this mast and this mast are replacements.
What makes this toy particularly special is its historical significance. Clearly, a piece of such historical significance is a rare gem, and it's valued at
$8,000 to $10,000.
Okay, wow.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
cool. Autographed photograph of a public figure sure does look interesting. Inherited by the guest from her great-uncle, who used to live in New York City in the 1950s, appearing on the photograph is none other than Winston Churchill. Churchill served as the head of state for the United Kingdom twice and played a vital role in the defeat of Nazi Germany in the Second World War. Directly beneath the photograph, on the mat, is Churchill's autograph, dated 1944. An autograph from Churchill is highly sought after by collectors due to his historical significance and rarity. However, if the autograph had been signed directly on the photograph instead of the mat, its value would likely be much higher. Regardless, it's still a very valuable piece, even with the autograph on the mat, and would be valued at auction around
$3,000 to $5,000.
Okay.
Shares that their great-great-great-grandmother won the item for $1 in a raffle. This item represents the California Missions, which are the oldest structures in California, established by Spanish priests, spanning from San Diego to Sonoma. Stylistically, the piece would date from around 1920. The appraiser estimates the value of this sideboard at
probably at $3,000 to $5,000, but realize that there is some upward potential.
Treasure table was passed down through the guest's family from Abbeville, Louisiana, located in the heart of Cajun country. The guest's cousin's grandfather, Grandpa Moss, is believed to have worked on the table in the courthouse in the early 19th century. The table eventually came into the guest's possession after being stored in their father's barn for many years. Made of cypress wood, a rarity in furniture from that region, the table had a unique charm, despite its weathered appearance.
Well, it is an extraordinary piece, a very rare piece of Louisiana furniture.
Despite some signs of wear, such as paint marks from its days as a makeshift storage surface. The table's construction and design revealed its French influence and historical significance. The appraiser noted its rarity and estimated its value at auction to be between
$3,000 to $5,000 range.
Oh. Wow, a paint holder.
Revered are believed to be gifts from God. The guest brought a very old and tiny book. They mentioned it had belonged to their great-great-grandpa, who was a rabbi. They didn't know much more about it except that their dad always kept it locked up and they weren't allowed to touch it when they were kids. It's in exceptional condition. This Hebrew Bible from the mid-19th century is truly beautiful. The appraiser noted that it was in really good condition and had extremely small writing. Even though the guest tried to touch it a lot when they were young, they couldn't. The appraiser explained that making such a tiny book was really hard, and people have always been interested in seeing how small they can make books, especially with important texts like religious ones. They discovered that the book was likely made in the 1840s to 1850s in Poland, despite the family living in Russia. While examining the condition of the item, the appraiser said,
Approximately $1,000.
the magical ritual chalices from an ancient king's court. Instead, they came from guests' relatives in Columbia, South Carolina, who frequented auctions in Highland, North Carolina. Look how each piece is just magnificently beautiful. These magnificent pieces are Bohemian glass, also known as Moser, which originated around 1857.
Moser was the glass of kings and the king of glass.
There are 72 pristine pieces of Bohemian glass, likely from the turn of the century, and the guest had
Finger bowl and underplate, a Rhine wine, a red wine, a champagne, and a liqueur.
Each piece boasted thick 24-karat gold leafing. Despite their exquisite beauty, they have remained untouched. The appraiser suggested that this set could fetch
$1,200 to $1,500 just in these few pieces. Your set of 72 pieces would be in the range of $15,000 to $18,000.
Wow.
A small drawing by Quentin Blake brings big smiles.
That pen and ink line, the spontaneity of it, those huge smiling faces.
Yeah.
How did it come to be yours?
Our guest found it during an office cleanup. It can be recognized as Blake's work even without a signature. Blake disclosed that the drawing was for a contraception leaflet, initially featuring a naked couple, later dressed to comply with censorship. His bold pen and ink style is evident, with white paint enhancing the details. The striped swimming trunks further add to the artwork's appeal. Blake's talent lies in captivating expressions with minimal strokes, where even simple dots can radiate joy through the eyes. The drawing, once overlooked, now holds significant value.
£1,000 to £1,500.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing.
These quirky walking staffs, doubled as defenders, designed for bonking people on the head. Their unique faces are impressive to ignore. They've been in the owner's family for generations. Surprisingly, these staffs have glass eyes and are considered incredible folk art. These staffs exude a distinctly British vibe, possibly of Welsh origin, crafted from fruit wood around 1850. Though they could be even older, one of them is missing a piece.
This one has lost a lump there. I reckon that missing piece is embedded in someone's skull right now.
They exude charm with their humor and impeccable craftsmanship. But beware, the price tag might come as a shock.
About £400 each, that's $800 for the pair.
Yeah, well, it's better than being under the bed, isn't it?
Yeah. $65,000?
Yeah, it's a very, very...
No wonder I've been nervous wearing it.
Yeah, you should...
I should be nervous.
This elegant piece of jewelry would always be the center of attraction. The elegant ring was gifted to the guest by her parents about 15 years ago, weighing about 4 carats. Face up, this stone looks larger than it actually looks because the bottom of the stone has lesser volume than the face.
Because there isn't as much volume at the bottom of the diamond.
Mm-hmm.
It is very neatly cut and it reflects light in a unique way. This stone is dated around 1920 to 1930. However, the stone's setting is dated around 1950s. This piece is a very high-grade stone, VVS2 on the grading levels. With all the superb qualities of this diamond piece, it doesn't come as a surprise that it is valued at auction to be around
About $65,000.
No way.
Yeah.
$65,000?
Yeah, it's a very, very...
No wonder I've been nervous wearing it.
Yeah, you should...
I should be nervous.
Showcase an elegant vintage steam clock, epitomizing the grace of a bygone era. Our guest inherited this masterpiece from her father. This clock, known as the French industrial clock, boasts a simple design and mechanism. Atop the clock sits its engine comprised of a flywheel and a governor, ensuring a stable and seamless mechanism. Additionally, the clock's base is crafted from brass with marble underneath. However, the clock's dial requires restoration due to damage, and the barometer also shows signs of wear, necessitating repair. Fascinatingly, this clock dates back to around 1885, making it a rare find. With restoration, its value would skyrocket, but even in its current condition, it remains a highly valuable item. A clock of this age is seldom encountered, and its value at auction would likely be substantial, estimated at
$3,000 to $4,000.
Wow.
Holds the potential to rewrite history by finally crediting Woodbury with capturing the iconic photograph of the Gettysburg Address. David Woodbury worked under Matthew Brady and was given credit as a photographer in the war. Despite its significance, the identity of the photographer had remained an enigma for years. The guest's letter, however, provided compelling evidence, written by Woodbury himself. The letter documented his presence at Gettysburg on the 19th of November, 1863, along with Anthony Berger, another photographer associated with Matthew Brady's studio. The letter further mentioned taking pictures of the crowd in procession, strongly suggesting Woodbury's role in capturing the historic event. The potential impact of the letter extended beyond monetary value. The true worth of this item resides in its historical significance. However, the monetary value of the letter itself was estimated at a conservative
$10,000 to $15,000.
Okay. With a reasonable increase to $15,000 to $25,000 over the past couple of years. In a beautiful yet mysterious Chinese rose medallion bowl. She acquired the piece 10 years ago, but still lacks knowledge about the bowl's origin. The bowl is a Chinese rose medallion bowl, a style specifically designed for Western markets like America and England. While the interior featured traditional Chinese motifs like birds and figures, the overall design catered to Western perceptions of Chinese culture. The bowl's origin dates to around 1820, originating from Canton, China. Originally a simple bowl, it was fitted with brass mounts in the 1920s, converting it to a jardiniere, a decorative planter. This alteration, while not part of the original design, actually enhanced the bowl's value. While the lack of information about the bowl's history limited its potential worth, its estimated replacement value is
$3,000 on it.
But in three intriguing items from Papua New Guinea: a baby carrier, a yam mask, and another basket of unknown purpose. The guest had acquired these items in Australia in 1975. It was identified as a baby carrier traditionally used to transport infants in the jungles of Papua New Guinea. The yam mask, explained by the guest, played a role in the harvest ritual.
When during a harvest season, they put this mask on top of a yam potato.
Villagers would symbolically defeat the yam as an enemy, enacting a dance and chant before discarding the mask and consuming the yam. The guest's recollection of missionaries collecting these masks attributed to a period of increased contact between Papua New Guinea and the outside world in the 1930s. These items served as tangible representations of the traditions and rituals practiced by the Albellum tribe of Papua New Guinea. The true value of these items reside in their cultural heritage, however. The value of each item is around $250, potentially reaching
$750 to $900 for all of it. But they're just truly incredible.
That's great. That's exciting.
This artifact, imbued with history and a personal connection, held significant value beyond its monetary worth. This fascinating historical document is a signed Abraham Lincoln presidential pardon. The guest's ancestor, a topographical engineer and friend of Abraham Lincoln, had acquired the document, but the exact circumstances remained unclear. The document itself was a presidential pardon granted by Lincoln in 1861 to a prisoner named Charles de Villiers. The pardon cited de Villiers' good behavior and lack of prior offenses as reason for his release after serving only 6 months of an 18-month sentence. Written in secretarial hand with Lincoln's bold signature and the Secretary of State's witness signature, the document stood as a testament to a real moment in American history. However, the true value of the document transcended its monetary worth, which is estimated to be
$12,000 to $15,000.
Wow, that's great. That's exciting.
A cherished family heirloom, a doll passed down through generations from her great-grandmother. Despite the guest's limited knowledge about the doll, it was identified as a rare and valuable piece. The doll is a Simon Halbig character doll, a category depicting children with realistic features. The doll's unique characteristic was its mold number 160, which is incredibly rare and increases the doll's value. Further examination revealed a collaboration between two doll makers, Heinrich Handwerk, who crafted the doll's body, and Simon Halbig, who created the head. The doll's composition body and repainted hands hinted at its age and potential restoration history. Even the doll's wig and dress, potentially replacements from a later era, added to the story of the doll's life and journey through time. The doll held not only monetary value but also sentimental significance for the guest. It represented a cherished connection to her great-grandmother and grandmother, and at auction, it would fetch about
Probably $4,000 to $5,000.
Wow.
cigar box and an antique letter, both encapsulating a piece of history. They belonged to the guest's father, who was an official United States of America photographer and a sergeant in the United States Army. The guest's father was also gifted, as a token of appreciation, this vintage cigar box by Louis Mountbatten. He was a British statesman, naval leader, and the last Viceroy of India. The letter is from Southeast Asia Command Headquarters, which was run by Mountbatten. Also, set on the display table is also a framed photograph of a painting, also gifted to guest's father by Mountbatten. All these items received by the guest's father as a compensation not only connects us to the past, but also serves as a reminder of timeless stories, emotions, and at auction, these items would be valued at around
$1,000 to $1,500 on it. Yeah, it's a great grouping of stuff. Really is. Really is.
Brought by the guest is truly timeless. The desk belonged to the guest's mother. It dates back to the Chippendale style, made during the late 18th century. The writing desk, with its significant history, most likely carries important papers and even money in its locked compartments. Interestingly, the desk features original poplar wood, which has oxidized over time. Also, it has a unique lopper mechanism to hold up items. The top is made of highly figured plum pudding mahogany.
There would have been 3 little drawers back there. Now there's 1 left.
Despite some replaced brasses and carved pieces, its value at auction is estimated to be
The value at auction would be $2,000 to $3,000 in this market. That would be the estimate.
Chairs whispers tales of its own rich past. Belonging to the guest's family, they comprise 6 chairs, though only 2 were presented on the show. Examining the back rail of these chairs reveals that they've suffered some damage from Hurricane Katrina. This set is known as Chippendale mahogany dining chairs, crafted in the North Shore of Massachusetts. The chair's crest boasts a handsome serpentine design, while the top rail features flaring molded ears. The trapezoidal seats rest gracefully on cabriolet legs. This set was crafted between 1760 and 1780.
They were likely made between about 1760 and 1780.
Considering their age of over 200 years, some wear is to be expected. Yet this particular set is in good condition. Their value at auction would be
$1,000 to $2,000.
Okay.
Adorned with shimmering metal motifs is not merely clothing. It is a cultural artifact that envelops you in the mystique of centuries past. Known as an Egyptian Seurat shawl, it was showcased by our guest, who purchased it at a textile antique store in London. Originating from Egypt in the 1920s, it is crafted from silver metal, carefully darned and affixed onto a cotton net. Adorning the shawl are rows of motifs including figural rose, and stylized trees. At auction, this intriguing garment, steeped in history, would undoubtedly command significant value of
a retail value of $950.
Our guest at a small-town consignment auction for $50 along with another print. These 2 porcelain plaques were later discovered to be marked with KPM, Königliche Porzellan Manufaktur, on the back. KPM, a royal porcelain manufacturer in Berlin, Germany, produced these plaques, which are typically dated around 1890 to 1900, and
it's night and day when you see a KPM plaque versus when you see any of the other secondary artist-designed plaques that were made in Germany and Austria.
The plaques are examples of the artist designs copied from old master paintings, with one depicting Christopher Columbus and the other featuring the Cupid and Psyche object. Despite their different subjects, both plaques are valued similarly in today's market, with each porcelain plaque estimated to be worth between
$3,000 to $5,000.
Wow.
The one on the right at auction would be worth about the same.
Okay.
that stirred childhood memories. The puppets belong to Harry Corbett, known for the Seurat show.
Because my father was in a children's home, in a national children's home.
Really?
And then Harry met him when they were working.
Got all goosebumps.
Ronnie recalls meeting Harry Corbett at a children's home in Southport in 1955, where he had the privilege of playing with Seurat, one of the puppets. Despite being a year older than him, Seurat holds a special place in Ronnie's heart, representing his fondest childhood memory.
Because he had many, and he did give them away.
Yes,
I know that.
yeah.
Ronnie tries on the Seurat puppet on the show, reflecting on the possibility that it might be the same one he played with as a child. The appraiser values each puppet at
They're worth about £200 to £250 each.
estimating the total value of Ronnie's collection at
It's $12.50.
And another one at home.
$1,500.
Goodness me.
Was showcased by the guest, who speculated her father might have bought it. The beautiful piece depicted a snow scene in a French village from the early 20th century. The painting possessed an impressionist style of art, which had started in 1870, which made the paintings look lively and animated. The signature on the bottom depicted it was made by Gustave Loiseau, a second-rate impressionist influenced by Monet and Pissarro. Despite not reaching the same level as the top impressionist,
this artist is clearly aware he's enthralled of it all, but he's not quite learnt to have the same vision and clarity as those artists, but nonetheless he's learnt the language.
Loiseau's work still carried value. The estimated value of the particular piece was...
It's still worth between about £10,000 and £15,000.
Oh, goodness. Well, that's very good news.
Guest brought in a fascinating pocket watch he inherited from his father. It is a full calendar watch with moon phase complications, an incredibly intricate design featuring 7 subsidiary dials. These dials displayed the time in various major cities around the world, including Paris, New York, St. Petersburg, Kolkata, and Melbourne. While the guest wasn't sure of the watch's purpose, it is a likely luxury item for wealthy travelers who could keep track of time across different time zones. The sheer number of complications suggested it was a seriously rich man's toy, a status symbol showcasing not just wealth, but also a worldly perspective. Despite being tucked away for decades, the watch was in remarkable condition. Considering its rarity and complexity, it is estimated to have a value of
£4,000 as a starting figure.
It inspires awe when we are presented with such sleek, pearly oyster plates, evoking the richness of the sea. These oyster-themed plates were given to the guest by her husband's stepmother. Inscribed on the back of the plates are some marks, one of which is the Haviland Company, which produced these plates. Another visible signature is that of Theo R. David, the designer of this set of plates. Examining the rim of the plates, we can see an eagle insignia that showcases the craftiness that went into making it. However, these plates are replicas of the original plates that were used in the White House. So, considering the intricacy and preservation of these plates, as well as the fact that there are 3 of them, the current value of this set at auction would be
between $4,000 and $6,000 for the 3, and between $15,000 and $25,000 for all 10.
Thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate that.
Oh, my son will be amazed.
He will be amazed.
This guest unveils a pair of decoys with a rich history. These decoys, once belonging to a neighbor who had passed away, found their way into the hands of the guest through an estate sale. As the spotlight shifted to the decoys themselves, their remarkable detail came into focus.
These are about the best decoys that I have seen.
It was revealed that they had been cherished since 1943, a testament to their enduring legacy. The guest shared that these decoys were attributed to none other than Charles Perdue, a celebrated carver hailing from Illinois. Born in 1874 in Henry, Illinois, Perdue's craftsmanship was renowned, particularly along the banks of the Illinois River, where he carved these very decoys. Interestingly, his wife, Edna, lent her artistic touch to the pieces, showcasing her talent in painting alongside his carving expertise. The hen and drake mallards stood as an exquisite example of Purdue's skill, with lifelike features and meticulous craftsmanship. Despite their age, they remained in pristine condition, having never graced the waters but instead served as cherished decorations in their previous owner's home. The appraiser, impressed by the quality and provenance of the decoys, shared an estimated valuation between
$10,000 and $20,000.
Oh, my son will be amazed.
He will be amazed.
I'm surprised. I had no idea. Of course, it's not for sale. We display it.
Presented on the show are an old photograph, an old student watch, and some vintage papers belonging to the guest's father, who attended Elgin Watch College in 1922, where he obtained his degree in 1925. The paper is a certificate certifying that the guest's father indeed graduated from the college. Alongside the paper with the blueprint of the watch, we have an old watch made by the guest's father.
The number he put on it. He also put the date, and then he wrote his initials.
Another item showcased is a photograph of the guest's father and the basketball team from Elgin College. Flipping the watch over, we can see the intricately made parts and mechanism. Also visible are the date and the guest's father's initials. It's not often that we find items this old, laden with history, and also this well preserved. It's no surprise these pieces would be valued at auction to be
$1,500 to $2,000.
Oh, really? I'm surprised. I had no idea. Of course, it's not for sale. We display it.
A captivating portrait, shrouded in a bit of mystery. He reveals the portrait is a cherished family heirloom, likely depicting their great-great-grandfather born in 1785. The appraiser admires the painting style, characteristic of the late 18th century folk portraiture.
It has all of the elements that characterize, I think, great folk portraiture.
It depicts the sitter, a young boy with a captivating gaze, who holds a wild rose and wears a curious necklace. However, the artists of this beautiful painting remain a puzzle.
He's holding, looks like a wild rose, and is wearing a little necklace. Now, this is a little bit of a mystery.
This painting boasts an overall matte typical of the era. The meticulous lettering of the inscription on the back hints at the artist's possible background as a sign painter. Recent cleaning and restoration ensured the portrait's longevity while preserving the crucial inscription. The appraiser notes the replaced stretcher as a necessary measure to conserve the artwork. Taking into account the painting's charm, historical significance, and excellent condition, he confidently estimates its value at
$30,000 to $50,000 without hesitation.
Posters are large sheets of paper with history and art depicted on them. During a discussion, it was revealed that an Art Deco picture, initially believed to be an antique, was actually crafted in the 1980s. It was described as reminiscent of the Great Gatsby era, featuring stylish elements like martini glasses and fancy angles. Although it wasn't genuinely old, its visual appeal remained impressive. The picture is totally fake, but it looks really good. It includes things like martini glasses, monocles, and red lips, and the angles are all fancy. If you take it out of the frame, you'll see it's stuck on linen. The inclusion of a forged 1928 date raised doubts about its authenticity. Consequently, dealers approach it cautiously, aware of its deceptive origins. This incident underscores the importance of transparency in the art market. While examining the condition of the item, the appraiser said,
between $700 and $1,000.
On this clock while inquiring about pocket watches in an old jewelry store. The jeweler initially hesitated to sell any watches, but eventually noticed the guest's interest in the clock hanging on the wall. The clock served as a historical artifact and represented a transition period around the 1880s when standardized time zones began to emerge. The presence of both clocks, one indicating local time and the other standard time, made the piece truly remarkable. The clock's significance and rarity contributed to an estimated replacement value of
about $7,500.
Great, that's wonderful.
Carved bronze figure truly looks stunning. The guest acquired it at an antique shop. At the bottom of this item, we can see it signed J.M. Boyribbon.
It is signed on the bottom of the plateau.
And this piece is dated 1911. The craftsmanship of its carver is very evident, looking at how intricately this piece was made. This bronze figure depicts a woman kneeling with a deer behind her. A piece like this is highly sought after by collectors. It's such a beautifully crafted bronze figure, it's little wonder it would sell at auction for
Between $15,000 and $20,000. It's a fantastic buy. You're more than welcome.
Oh, you made me get goosebumps.
The guest brought in a prized possession, a Murano glass sculpture they affectionately called Evelyn. While the guest lacked knowledge about the piece's origin, the item is rich in history and value. The guest's father named it Evelyn, playfully comparing it to the guest's mother's appearance. The sculpture is the work of Paolo Vanini, a renowned Italian glassmaker from Murano, Italy. The specific piece was likely designed by Fulvio Bianconi. This attribution significantly increased the value of the sculpture, as Vanini and Bianconi are well-respected figures in the world of glass art. The sculpture has a whimsical detail in the design. The sculpture could be seen as resembling a cat with 2 eyes, 2 ears, and a pulled feather design. The guest's father had purchased the sculpture for a mere $50 in 1962. A remarkable investment considering the piece's current estimated value of
$8,000 to $10,000. Wow. Oh, you made me get goosebumps.
treasure trove of memorabilia from his father, a trainer for the gold medal-winning 1956 U.S. Olympic basketball team. These items, more than just collectibles, served as tangible links to a significant moment in both basketball history and the guest's family history. The centerpiece of the collection is a pristine autographed basketball. The original photograph documented the triumphant 1956 U.S. Olympic basketball team, including the guest's father standing proudly among the players. The original scorebook from the games provided a unique window into the statistics and performance of the dominant U.S. team. Each inscription within the scorebook held the potential to tell a story about a particular game, a close call, or a decisive victory. The guest's father's participation medal, though unassuming, served as a tangible recognition of his contribution to the team's success. Despite its age, the ball remained in exceptional condition, with clear, unfaded signatures from legendary players like Bill Russell and Casey Jones. Bill Russell's signature is particularly rare due to his general reluctance to sign autographs, making this basketball a truly unique piece. This exceptional condition, coupled with the historical significance of the autographs and the 1956 gold medal win, placed this item at an auction value of, after a recent appraisal, the collection is now valued at
$8,000 to $10,000.
Wow, that's a pretty good price.
What we have here is a remarkable piece the guest bought at a yard sale. This album showcases a collection of watercolor and gouache paintings, primarily depicting flowers and fruits. What sets this album apart is its connection to Rufus A. Grider, an artist and art teacher from Mohawk Valley, New York, known for his historical contributions to the region. The album contains not only botanical studies, but also landscapes and even personal inscriptions, such as one addressed to a school teacher.
Victorian times, late 19th century, is common for people to do these books or albums of studies of botanicals. It was a popular hobby.
Quite fascinating, the standout piece is a charming depiction of a child in a rocker with a dog, which is considered an icon of folk art. Grider's work, while not widely recognized during his lifetime, is now highly valued for its historical and artistic significance. Overall, this piece is a treasure trove of artistic and historical value with an estimated value of,
I really think that together it might be as much as $20,000 to $30,000.
What?
Presented by the guest. This piece was made by the extraordinary pair Otto and Gertrude, who were two of the premier mid-century potters in America. Together, they created groundbreaking ceramic art, exemplified by their futuristic designs.
In mid-century America, mid-century decorative arts, and this form, which is extremely futuristic, think what's happening in the 50s, is really quite beautiful.
This vase, acquired by the guest in 1957 during an exhibition in Los Angeles, showcases the artist's innovative style. It features an organic form with a unique orange and brown volcanic layered glaze, a signature of Otto's magical glaze formulas. Vases by the Natzlers are rare, with bowls being more common in their work, which makes this piece one of a kind that's highly valued at
$6,000 to $9,000 would be my
Wait,
auction.
what did you just say?
$6,000 to $9,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's...
Now, is your mom still living?
Yes, she is, and she's going to be mighty shocked.
Make sure you tell her that $75 many years ago was...
Back in 1978, our guest acquired a special document at a WGBH auction. This document displayed information about George Barker, who was born in 1788 and was a person of color. Guest paid $75 for this document. The document describes Barker's height, complexion, and hair in detail. It's a rare find, especially for a free person of color, in such exquisite form. It's not just any paper, it's a certificate of citizenship for a person of color. Scholars, collectors, museums, and libraries would treasure this piece. Appraiser leaves the guest astonished by the document's newfound worth, sparking awe.
$3,500 to $5,000 for this document.
That's...
Now, is your mom still living?
Yes, she is, and she's going to be mighty shocked.
Make sure you tell her that $75 many years ago was...
Over time, the value of this document declined to a range of $600 to $900.
That's really to be treasured.
The appraiser identifies the item as a bodice ornament, dating to around 1880, possibly closer to the turn of the century. The ornament is made of silver on gold, with hallmarks indicating it is Russian in origin. Guests thought it might have been purchased at an auction in Russia, which the appraiser confirms as a possibility. The appraiser estimates the value of the bodice ornament to be between
$15,000 to $20,000. So I think you have something that's really to be treasured.
This colored sandwich glass decanter is a highly collectible piece dating back to the early to mid-19th century, around 1820 to 1840. What sets this decanter apart is its intact stopper, a rarity among similar pieces where the stopper is often lost or damaged. The amethyst hue of the glass adds to its desirability among collectors. Appraisers estimate this amethyst-colored sandwich glass could sell for $300 to $500. This original Confederate soldier's repatriation oath, dated at the end of the Civil War, is a rare historical document. To return to the Union, Confederate soldiers had to sign an oath agreeing not to take up arms against the Union and to abide by laws regarding slavery. The guest's possession of this oath is a testament to his ancestors' history and the tumultuous period of American history. This Confederate soldier's repatriation oath could fetch around
They probably bring around $500 to $600.
a piece of history. That's what today's guest brought to the show for us. We can see here the campaign poster for America's democracy hero Abraham Lincoln and his Vice President Andrew Johnson. This poster differs in many ways to modern posters, with the most significant being, unlike nowadays where we have paper posters, this one was sewn together using many different pieces.
They didn't have as big paper as this, so what they did was they joined pieces of paper together. And if you look up along here, you can see a seam running down. That was a separate sheet of paper.
But despite being sewn together, this poster has stood the test of time and come out on top. Perhaps it's why, for such a piece that represents the American history at its core, it is valued at
$25,000 on it. Does that seem reasonable to you?
Probably very reasonable.
Yeah.
I will take better care than I did.
This exquisite parasol has a remarkable history, originating from Queen Victoria's court. The previous owner, associated with the Queen's court guard,
Queen Victoria presented this to her as a gift.
Remarkably preserved, the parasol showcases a stunning combination of silk and lace. Its porcelain handle, adorned with gilt, adds a touch of elegance. The top features a marvelous portrait of Queen Victoria, with an open cartouche for personalization. The initials VR signify Victoria Regina, dating back to her coronation in 1837. Despite its age, the parasol's impeccable condition allows us to see the maker's name inside.
And it says Paragon Fox & Company Limited.
This British royal commemorative item is a rare find and is valued between
$2,000 to $3,000 today at auction.
Oh my. I will take better care than I did.
Its exceptional condition and historical significance make it a truly remarkable piece. Features something we don't see every day. We have here a Fred Lauer Olympic collection. Fred Lauer was a four-time Olympian whose career spanned from 1924 through 1936.
Fred was a water polo player, and he was in 4 Olympics.
Right.
And apparently he was also a collector of Olympic memorabilia and his own memorabilia.
We can see shown here in the collection are his Olympic sweaters and books. Perhaps what's surprising about Fred is that he was a collector of memorabilia, and we can see here 2 books of which, one came from the 1936 Olympics, contain the signatures of many great Olympians. It was like Fred knew that many of the people whose signatures are in the collection would later go on to be huge stars. For a collection that houses the signatures of many men that were on to change the narrative in different sports, this collection fetches a hefty price of
about $10,000, probably more at auction.
Right.
It's just marvelous. It's a real piece of history.
Thank you.
Well-polished violin was brought onto the show by this guest who inherited it from her grandmother. The violin was made by one of the foremost American violin makers of his time, Charles Albert. Typical of his works, he used American wood. Carved at the scroll is the figurine of an unknown lady, likely depicting a public figure from that time. Charles Albert made this violin in 1877 for the 1878 Paris Exposition. The medal from the exposition still remains with the violin. This violin was made in the French style to impress the judges at the exposition. He attempted to replicate the 16th century Brescian style. The arabesque style, designed on the edge of its base, attests to this. Considering how intact this violin is, and also the presence of its exposition badge, which is a rarity, places its value at
perhaps $3,500.
That's great.
Masterpiece of craftsmanship and design embodies both practicality and beauty. The guest purchased it at an estate sale.
We just like the shape and the form, and just us, it looked very beautiful.
This extraordinary piece dates back to the early 18th century and was made in southeastern Pennsylvania. Early furniture of this William and Mary style is rare today and highly sought after. It has many desirable features, like the dovetailed construction, which is fairly thick. Typical of Pennsylvania construction, it's nice and heavy with 2 drawers.
You can see some of the secondary woods here. Sides and back are oak, and this is poplar, which is also typical of Pennsylvania region. This nice sort of striped, sort of green color to it.
What's special about this piece is the feet, which are turned and pegged into the bottom. Considering the pristine condition of this piece, it is valued at
$10,000 and $15,000.
15?
That's right.
Much more we ever expected.